Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So in this video we're going to talk about the changes which are going to be coming up for ILR. So ILR stands for indefinite leave to remain, and just to break it down in simple terms, you might have heard of a word called PR, which means permanent residency, for countries like Canada, Australia. This word can be similar for UK. Essentially you get something called indefinite leave to remain, which is sometimes used synonymously to PR, right? So this is just a way. What I want to talk about is what are the changes in order for you to get the PR or ILR. So anybody who is a future student or who is a current student, these are changes which are going to affect them. So make sure to share this video to more and more people so that there's more and more awareness around it and people can make conscious decisions while they choose UK for their studies and developing their further life. So before I move to the very first change, I just want to make sure that you guys know that some of the changes have already been effective from 2024, April of 2024, whereas there are few rules which are going to be something which are still in discussion. So there is still a probability of whether they will go ahead or not, right? So I just want to make sure that you pull this caveat into your head, and I'll make sure to clarify what those rules are as I go ahead in the video. The very first change is regarding your 10-year rule, right? So what happens is this one way of to get the permanent residency in the UK or ILR, which is that if you continue to live here for 10 years, you will get ILR. Now the change which the government has made is that your current visa should be for at least 12 months, right? Let's say if you get another visa at let's say at 9 years 5 month mark, right? And within 5 months you'll be able, within like about 7 months you'll be able to complete your 10 years of time period here in the UK, but still you won't be able to apply for ILR because your current visa has to be at least 12 months old or long enough for, right? So that's the very first change, that your current visa needs to be at least for 12 months before you apply for an ILR, despite you've hit the 10-year rule, 10-year mark, right? So that's the very first change. Now the second change is with regards to your fees. So the fees in order for you to apply for ILR is now £3,029. Now this is increased versus what it was previously. Now the reason for increase is, you know, that there's a conversation around in the UK which is very prominent, is to cut the migration numbers, right? The migration numbers has been exponentially growing and therefore the government wants to cut it. So therefore ILR fees have increased, but then also when you look at post-study work visa, student visa, all across most of the visas, right, the application fees have increased, and that same thing has been applied to ILR. So it's going to be a bit expensive for you to get an ILR. So let's say if you're going to apply for the ILR in the next 4 to 5 years, this fees is even going to increase, right? So that's like another thing which you need to be planning for, that during that when you apply for ILR, you should have that money in order to apply for it. So something again you need to like start saving up. The third change is regards to your continuous residence. So now we talked about the very first way to get permanent residency is 10-year rule, and there's another rule which is that if you be on a skilled worker visa for 5 years, you will get ILR, right? So these are the two ways. Now your question would be that, okay, Jashin, for the 5 years of continuous period, let's say once you're on a skilled worker visa, can I go outside of the UK? Can I go back to my parents in India? The answer to that is yes, but there's a limit to it. So right now there's a new update that after April of 2024, that period should be up to 180 days in 12-month period, right? So it can't be more than 180 days in 12-month period. If you do so, you will be breaching the rules and regulations in order for you to get the ILR. So therefore, if you breach that year won't be counted into 5 years, and you need to again start your cycle again, right? So that's like a very, very important thing to keep in your mind, and the same thing applies to the 10 year of ILR, right? So that's like a really, really important rule to keep in mind. Once you've got a skilled worker visa, you're going to think about 5 years or you're going to think about 10 years. Make sure that you don't exceed this limit of up to 180 days in 12-month period. Before we go to further reforms and changes, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Amber Students. So Amber Student is a great platform. It's a marketplace of student accommodation. So if you're someone who's coming to the UK in the next intake, in September intake, whenever you're coming to the UK, you should be going to Amber Students platform, as this lists down all the accommodations available here. So personally, I stayed in Glasgow for my university, and I was able to get my accommodation through Amber Students, and I also got a really, really good cashback. So there's a link mentioned in the description of this video. Go and search for the accommodation and put your inquiry into Amber Student platform, and they've got an amazing beautiful team who will be able to reply you as soon as possible. So everybody in the team is there to help you guys out, and I've been working them personally on this channel for the last 2 to 3 years. So it's a very trusted platform. So do check the link which is mentioned in the description of this video. Back to the video. So now you're back to the video. So now there's going to be some of the changes which are again something which are in discussion. These are not something which has been firm. Whereas the previous section we talked about some of the firm rules, now are the ones which are something which might be around 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't know, right? Down the year line, but definitely not. These are not the rules which are going to be effective in the next probably 1 year or so. Like it'll be too early for them to be executed in that short period of time. Now, what those rules are? So remember, I talked about that 5-year route in order to get a permanent residency when you're on a skilled worker visa, right? So now the government's there's a bit of a discussion around that to extend from 5 years to 10 years, right? So you won't be able to assign. So there's a bit of discussion that can we extend that time period from 5 years to 10 years, which makes again for people like you and me a bit more difficult and challenging in order to get the ILR, right? So now that's something which is again into discussion. A lot of people have kind of criticized it that prospective international students will be reduced, therefore which is going to create a lot of burden on the universities. So again, there are counter arguments to this discussion, but this is definitely one of the points which is being discussed, that to increase that time period from 5 years to 10 years, right? So something which is again important for you to keep in mind as you're looking to apply for probably the next intake or the intake after, right? I'll mention all the sort of links to my points in the description, right? So that's the first point over there. Now the second point is, so now here, let's say once you're on skilled worker visa or any sort of visas, right? Normally for the people over here, people know that there's so many people who get housing benefits, public benefits. So there's a system called NHS, and so basically from my salary, NHS fees goes away, and there are people who will be able to access that public funds. Now you on skilled worker visa are not entitled to get any of those public funds. If you do so, you will be breaching your visa rules and regulations, right? So what they're trying to do is just trying to make those rules a bit more stricter, which is that even instead of public benefits, even if somebody goes for a housing benefit, they shouldn't be eligible to apply for ILR. The third point is around net contributor requirement. So what this means is that you need to demonstrate while you do your application that you're net contributor to the UK economy instead of you're a liability. So that's like another sort of a proposal which is being discussed now. And the fourth one and the last one which I want to make you aware is around, so remember we talked about that you get permanent residency, which we talked about the same as ILR, but ILR doesn't give you a British passport, right? After that, what happens right now in the system is that you need to wait for another 1 year, and then you need to apply for something called citizenship, and that citizenship, so basically there's like 1 year of a time period and you get a British passport. So that's the process which we follow right now. But now again, in order to curb this migration into the UK, they're trying to extend that period from 1 year to 5 years, right? So basically once you've got your ILR, they're thinking of to extend for the 5 years of time period, then you get a British passport, right? Now again, for people like who want to come to the UK, who look for a better future, again it's going to be something which is negative for them, right? So basically at the end of the video, what I will summarize is the last 3 to 4 points which I've discussed. These are something which are very much into discussion right now in the parliament, into the legislature right now. So let's see if any of these are taken action upon. And personally, I feel that it makes sense to cut the net migration number, but at the same time make sure that government thinks about people like you and me, who come here, who study here in really, really good universities, get the top grade, then they get best of best jobs, and then basically making, if somebody's making life difficult for them, obviously there would be lack of skilled migration here in the UK. So probably as government is just thinking of all of these rules, they need to ensure that people who are genuine, who are skilled, they're sort of retained, and probably things are made a bit more easier for them, right? So with this, that was summary of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to give it a like if it was value for you, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and family members. Thank you for watching.